We are going to be talking about echoes of the past, visions of the future, South Asian art in transition. We have a very exciting panel with us, all the panelists. This panel will explore the evolving landscape of Indian art, offering insights from art world insiders and experts. The panel examines shifts away from Western traditions, the role of institutions in decolonizing perspectives, and the global potential of South Asian art. Discussions will also address democratizing art, regional challenges, and the demand for socially charged works. Today with us, we have Meha Patel. She's the Vice-Chairperson of Zydus Foundation and the Principal Patron for the Visual Arts Gallery at Raw Collaborative. Ms. Patel leads initiatives in healthcare, education, and community outreach. She oversees the Zydus Hospital at Dahod and the Green Gujarat Initiative. With a background in textile design from the University of Arts, London, she is an ardent promoter and patron of the visual arts, artisans, and social change. Along with us, we have Harssh Shah. He is the founder of Iram Art Gallery, which has expanded its global reach, showcasing in Basel, Paris, and Miami. With prestigious clients like Delta Airlines, Warner Brothers, and Dior, Iram Art is renowned for its curatorial excellence, with artists featured at top biennales, including Venice and Sharjah. We have Vinit, who is the founder and director of Gallery White in Baroda. It's also and the Vadodara Visual Arts Center, which is a prominent and he's a prominent curator and educator in India's contemporary art scene. Known for the landmark 570 artist mega art show at Vadfest 2015, he champions cultural dialogue, innovative exhibitions, and accessible art education, nurturing over 200 students annually. We also have with us Pallavi Khandelwal, who is a founder and curator of ArtBela. She is a seasoned art consultant with over 20 years of experience, inspired by her late uncle, renowned art historian, Dr. Lakshmi Prasad Sihare. She creates transformative spaces by blending art with interior design, curating exceptional collections for prestigious clients. Through her work at ArtBela, she helps bridge the worlds of art and interior design. Moderating the panel is going to be Ayesha Parikh. She is the founder of Art and Charlie, which has transformed her, and she has transformed a nomadic gallery in a small village in Bombay, in Bandra, at Pali, into a vibrant culture house, hosting 8+ art exhibitions annually alongside cultural events and a cafe. She is recognized by the Architectural Digest and Art Mumbai, and she used to be a chartered accountant back in the day and a former McKinsey consultant. Ayesha has also, Art and Charlie has also curated the Visual Arts Gallery at Raw Collaborative 2024. We also had Krupa Amin, founder of Space Studios Baroda with us, but unfortunately she had to cancel last minute yesterday, and we are going to miss her. But over to you, Ayesha. Thank you all for this.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Vivek. Vivek, by the way, has done all the talk series that you are now part of. So lovely. I am very excited to get into the questions with you guys. I thought I'll just set the scene of, for those of you who don't know where India is at in terms of the art scene right now, today. In terms of South Asian art, India is clearly one of the biggest, whether you call it market or regions. In terms of what we have today, let's look at art fairs. We have 2 art fairs. There used to be for almost 15 years only 1 art fair in Delhi. We now have 2, another one in Bombay called Art Mumbai. In terms of biennales, for example, for many years we've had Kochi Biennale that's been on the international calendar for a while, and now we have the Bengal Biennale, we have, and a couple of others coming up. We have the Start India organization that runs Mumbai Urban Art Festival on a very big scale once in a couple of years. And we have, I think, 50 galleries, at least in Bombay alone, and many more. I would say maybe like 100 galleries, art galleries across the country, if approximately I had to say. This if this is in 2024, this is the landscape of art in India. We want to get a little bit into where have we come from? Where was this 10 years ago? And how has this changed now? A couple of other things to set the tone, I'd say. There are some consulting figures that ChatGPT will also tell you around the market for art in India. It's estimated at 1,200 crores. What other thing? Yeah. So it's estimated at 1,200 crores. And so that's a little bit of where we are at. In terms of South Asia, largely, of course, we have Bangladesh, where there's the Dhaka Art Summit, wonderful artists coming out of Pakistan as well. Sri Lanka does Columbus Scope. And so clearly South Asia has a lot to offer. I'd like to take a little step back and talk to Vinit and Harssh to begin with, and talk about what have you seen, how have you seen the last 10 years, the landscape change? If this is where we are at now, where have we come from in terms of the landscape for art? Would love to understand from 2 points of view, either artist side, how, are there more artists, are there more universities, what's going on there? And the second is the market side. Do you want to start, Vinit?
So firstly, if I see how the art has evolved in the last 10 years, I feel that initially, 10, 15 years back, artists were more influenced by the Western culture. But now they're embracing our culture way more. So when I went to the art fair 2 years back at Delhi, almost every booth had textile in it. So it was a very refreshing thing to see that we are embracing our culture, our stories, our narratives, which is now also helping us becoming more popular internationally, because now they are able to differentiate between Indian artist from the global context. So when you see works of maybe somebody like Tallur or a Bharti Kher or even an Atul Dodia, you see how it is now so much with the Indian context. And that is something which is happening more and more. I see even young artists all over the country who are now using a lot of folk, a lot of textile in their work, a lot of craft, and making and showing it in a contemporary way, which is very good, which is the transformation I see, which is refreshing and which is very good, which is more Indian. And apart from that, as far as the industry or the market is concerned, I feel that we travel a lot more now. We drink good wine, we eat good cheese. So the taste is improving. With that, the idea of contemporary art is also changing in the younger generation. So we are having more young collectors coming in with a broader mindset, with not a very fixed sort of mindset. They are okay with works which has social messages or which are dealing with our day-to-day life. They don't want just the pretty Buddha in the house, right? So that is something that I'm seeing, and that's quite refreshing.
Okay.
You'd like to
Harssh?
So I personally feel that, of course, the Indian art scene has tremendously evolved in the last decade, with so many art fairs, biennales, of course, happening, many more galleries coming up every day. What we were before a decade and what we are today is substantially different. We are more in sync with the global art fraternity. Through Instagram and social media, the world is your playground. Everyone can access information everywhere. So, of course, the market is increasing and expanding. People have access to shows happening in New York. People have access to shows happening anywhere in the world. And that really helps broaden the horizons. There's a lot more dialogue happening in the art market. There are conversations, discourses, exchange of ideas, and that really helps people question how should art be kind of viewed, whether it is only merely for a decorative purpose, or is it instinct based where I just liked it and I bought it, or a question asked like, oh, should have I kind of interacted with more people or experts to get their opinion before I kind of took that plunge. And as Jaishree earlier talked about, it's a journey. We all make mistakes in our journey. The idea is to learn from it and evolve. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Got it. No, interesting points mentioned by both of you. I recently went to the Venice Biennale as well, and I saw all these articles around the most number of artworks in the main Biennale, which is 12. We've never had 12 Indian artists and works there. Interestingly, when you go see the works, they're all artists from 80 years ago, 100 years ago. We are still talking about Raza. We are still talking about these artists, and we know in a way like how much there's so many contemporary artists, there's so many artists that have come since then, and so are we waiting for that moment to come globally where people recognize we have more than Raza, right? That's one thing. But on the other hand, we have, there was a really very impressive show at the Barbican Arts Centre in London that just happened. And more of these happening in these iconic places, gives us hope. Let me come to a little bit, shift gears into collection philosophies. I'd love to know, Meha, from you, given all your personal collection that you've done for many years, I'd love to understand what is your collection philosophy, if you had to talk about it. What kind of works do you like an artist?
So I think, as Jayshree Aunty also mentioned earlier, I'm going to quote her. My journey also started when I started building our home, remodeling our home actually. And when I started, it was quite literally just to fill up walls. But obviously, I'd never envisioned myself to be in this space or sitting on the stage or doing any of that. But it was a very progressive journey in that sense. The way I felt very passionate about, as I started knowing about art, I felt very passionate about a lot of our masters which had actually gone international. And when I remember the first acquisition that we had when we got from an auction house, we got a master back to India, was the time when I felt that there's so much of us outside and which needs to come back. Coming back to your point when you said about contemporary art, I think there is so much potential in contemporary art, but India is such a young market and contemporary is just about emerging, and the locals are still trying to figure the contemporary names. So I think it's a journey, and there is still time for Indian art contemporary to be recognized internationally, is my view. The masters are still there, Hussein. I think they need to make way for the contemporary guys that, like, if you go to Art Basel, Paris, you had the same, you just had the masters, you didn't have the contemporary. Such amazing young artists which are there. But yeah, I think there needs to be a voice for them where, they're represented internationally as well.
No, absolutely. And one follow-up question is, in your collection, what is the percentage of South Asian works? Because I know you have works from all over. What is the percentage in your collection of South Asian works, and has it evolved over time?
No, it has. To be very honest, I don't look at art as, I have to collect a particular region. For me, borders don't hold any value. It is something what I really enjoy seeing. I have to live with it at the end of the day. So it's not a perception. It's not a particular region. There is international, there's South Asian, there's all kinds. But it's something that I actually like and enjoy is what I have got. So I think my journey has been something that me and my husband, our children, what we enjoy to live with every day is what we collect.
Right.
Yeah.
And Pallavi, I wanted to chat with you around, one is collection philosophy, what kind of things you personally like, but also in terms of the clients that you work for.
Yeah.
What are the kind of spectrums that you see, and has that evolved?
So yeah, actually a very correct question of what we do as an art consultant back in Delhi. How it works is that we typically get collectors who families who want to be collectors, who are aspiring to be, they've been wanting to buy art, but they're unable to. It's about not having the confidence to maybe walk into a gallery, because sometimes galleries are intimidating. So it's they they know it all. They are very well aware of artists, galleries, you know, the whole scene. But they just find difficult to maybe make sense of a solo show. Let me put it like that. And your question being that how they start their journey, or I missed that.
No, as in the question is around over time, given the kind of works they've been choosing, has that been evolving over time? If you can see from a sort of bird's eye point of view.
Yes, so I would say to you that now, if you see homes, whether they're remodeling or they're making new, there are across three generations. So typically, older generation has already, maybe bought one or two masters that time, not thinking they're going to be masters, but not relatively, assimilates with the younger generation. And as we just spoke, I think Vinit mentioned that now. Firstly, being after a lot of stuff, whether it was demonetization, a lot of stuff that as a country we've gone through, there's a lot of dispensable, money that this younger generation has. So what they feel is that, oh, that's fine, our parents did that bit, but I really want to experience art which I relate to, not necessarily what my parents' generation like. And because it's very relatable and happy art, that's the change that our contemporary art scene has brought about in the younger generation.
Very interesting.
And I feel that across all our artists that we see, they are soiling their hands with different mediums. Their language is developing, whether it's got to do with even photography, or whether it's got to do with using mixed media, and in different forms. So I just feel art is just not anymore in terms of a canvas like it was.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's really promoted.
And also, the beauty is there's a storytelling and a conversation that can happen over any artwork, and that is what makes it even more interesting. Just imagine, like, you have a couple of friends over, and you keep on meeting them every day, and you fall short of topics. And here is a conversation you can start over a work of art, and which can really kind of open up perspectives and thinking processes in people's mind, because you would have looked at a particular work of art and thought, oh, this means that, and the narrative can be completely else. To each its own. Everyone can have their own perception, but it's always interesting to have a good story around a work of art.
Absolutely. And how interesting when it's also South Asian artist that you can that you can relate to, that
Sure.
your audience can relate to.
Sure.
And talks about our social context today.
Sure.
This
I would like to
actually-
add something that Pallavi said about now we have more disposable money, and I was reflecting on this. Especially, she mentioned the lockdown, or the period where we're all at home.
Yeah.
That's when I think people start realizing the importance of aesthetics. And if you see, right after the lockdown, worldwide, we were breaking records
Yeah.
in sales.
Yes.
The contemporary art started doing much better. The auctions were doing all records. What was happening is that people sitting at home suddenly realized we were only spending on things that we were carrying out. Our watch, our purse, our shoes, our cars, which we can show to people, but not on things that we spend time with ourselves, which was art, which was at home.
Correct.
Yeah.
They realized there was a big void there, and that's when they went out, and when they were staring at that same set of horses at home,
Like,
they,
absolutely.
they realized that we need to buy something better.
And especially, what story can you weave around a couple of horses?
No, in May, when we just opened that first lockdown, like first lockdown opening, this client called me. She said, Pallavi, I bought an artwork from you in October 2019. From 19 to 20, I have never seen that artwork because I've never been home. She said, I was never home. And for the last, from March end to May, I realized all my walls are empty. So listen, before the second lockdown happens, please, my entire multimedia room is empty, and I just need art I can't not have. Because I never saw art which I bought.
That's amazing. It's also interesting, how there's the Maslow's pyramid that most people understand. It's one of these old frameworks. As you and it relates to art in a very interesting way, because there is some people start buying. When you start buying, sometimes it's about self-esteem. I want people to see what art I have, what names I have, all of that, right? Somewhere it starts with that. But once you start living with art, you really realize the consumption part of it for yourself, right? And it's almost like COVID pushed you into that top pyramid of understanding, that self-realization around art. I don't know if you had a similar sort of understanding from people you know, or people talking about this, or any sort of post-COVID stories that you can share around.
I think for me, COVID story would be when we did the Corona Quilt project. That was something which was an eye opener for me personally, because that was around 2020 when we hit COVID, and a friend of mine, she's a photographer, and she was making a quilt for Bombay. And she was telling me, the past year, I've just been working since lockdown. You don't meet your friends. You only talk to them on phone or social media. And so she was like, we're making this quilt in Bombay, which has taken us almost a year to collect around 3,000 pieces, and we're putting it together to give hope to people around. And I was like, why don't we bring it to Ahmedabad?
This is Dia Bhopal, right?
Correct,
the
Bhopal,
artist.
yes.
Yeah.
So so we collaborated together for her to make something for us, and we set out and a video out, and within 10 days we had 25,000 entries. It was a 15 by 15 square people had to make, and they had to just put in whatever they felt during COVID. And it was unreal. I mean, we were supposed to make a small quilt somewhere. We landed up, sort of putting it all across our facade. And on the 10th day, we had to stop entries. So people wanted, so art is such a medium. It is a medium of expressing yourselves, one's views. And at that point, I felt, when it was all stitched together, the quilt was together, it was this feeling of you're not in it alone. Because everybody had, a loss in their family, or they had with COVID, there were, old people had so many problems. The younger generation had so much problem. There were so many stories, but every 10th square had the same story repeating. And that's when we actually named it Together We Fly, is because I feel that, it was a form of art for us, but it was also a form of everyone's expressing themselves, that we're not in it alone, and, stories are getting repeated. And to get to your earlier question about collecting as well, I think borders don't really make a difference. If you see, I don't know if you remember the one that Rashid Rana and Shilpa did. My East is your West.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a very controversial topic, but in Venice, where there was Pakistani artist and there was an Indian artist, and they both collaborated together. And when you saw the whole show, it was such a good reminder to all of us that we're not as different as people make us sound to be. Everyone is living the same story, living the same sort of vision for themselves. But yeah, the borders sort of separate us. But I think it's
Absolutely. Which is why this whole at least the South Asian experience
Yes.
is it's a very common experience. An interesting point you made around this installation. One thing that happens in the West a lot is around these community projects, which is
Yes.
what this is. This idea that after self-expressing, you feel like you are part of something bigger.
Yeah.
Right, and that sort of, we are together in this and all of that, and it's so lovely to see that you did that. I wish more of that actually happens in India. There's so much scope around that. There's actually one question that one point that you mentioned, Pallavi, that I'm going to take as a segue as well. You mentioned that access to art, like people get intimidated with galleries, right? And we have two gallerists. Third, I will take myself out of this right now.
Do you get intimidated?
Not here at least, but I'm sure Bombay and Delhi would be having a different story.
What do you feel? In Baroda, what is the scene?
I have a very strong opinion on this. See, this intimidation comes from lack of education. Okay.
What type of education?
I'll give you the example. I was at the Tate in England, and I was just happening to be there with my daughter and my wife. And there was this group of third standard students sitting in front of Rothko paintings and learning color theory. Imagine the exposure they are having.
Yeah.
How many museums do we have in our country? What is the access to information to our children? They don't talk about art. What is art as a subject in school? It's a stepmotherly 45-minute class where one teacher is forced to teach art to some 50 odd students in 45 minutes. Not going to happen. He or she is struggling, but just it's a job. And art only gets serious once they start joining a university or a college where art history comes into play and art is taught properly. Otherwise, it's just an art, or you send your kids to learn art to the auntie next door who knows how to teach art, right? So that is how we have been learning art. So we are not sensitized at all,
Correct.
right? Where in the West, everybody has access to art and culture. They may become doctors, engineers, architects, whatever, but they don't hesitate to go to an art gallery because it's a part of their culture. We need to make this part of our education system.
Yes.
Otherwise, they will always be like that.
Correct.
We are not hesitant to go out and buy 100 crore land, are we? We can buy gold. We can walk into a CH jeweler and buy gold, right? But why are we hesitant to get into an art gallery? Because we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
The lack of information is bringing that scare, that idea of being scared.
Absolutely. And I had a very interesting sort of discussion this last weekend. I met some, my McKinsey folk who are now founders, etc. And these are people who've built really big businesses. And I told them, have you thought about buying art? Just like trying to understand what the mindset is. And they said, no, it's out of reach. These are the same people who are taking vacations, spending 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs on a vacation, but they won't spend 2 lakhs on art.
Yes.
And so it's a mindset issue,
Of course.
right? And it's letting people know, don't immediately stop access to it.
I think it's not, okay, mindset fine, but I think it's a confidence issue. It is about, what is art? Art is your expression, right? We were just talking in the morning, Harssh and me, over coffee, and I said, what is happening in whether it's Delhi, Bombay, Ahmedabad, Baroda, various parts of wherever we are. What is happening in our country, or rather as people? Do we internally know what we are, internally know what we want? So art is, at the end of the day, is about identifying what works for you. When we are very happy when we work with clients who actually have never soiled their hands with art, because I find it very interesting to work on their thought process, what's going on. Firstly, husband, wife, they both are talking different languages. It's a point very difficult to me.
Match the color of the sofa also.
No, that's just not happening. And then we get to a point to understand, okay, and just to understand what works for them. What is their ethos? What is them as a family? What are the values? What is the ethos? What do they really know what they want? Yes, travel, but really travel art is done.
Yeah.
Somebody the other day said, I love scenery or something. I said, I think it's done. It's, just look at art. There's more to art which the artist is pouring out. And of course, what's really come about after COVID is happy art. They really, I did read a topic in which I'm sure you'll pick up, social and political art. But that's for really serious collectors in time to come. But I just feel that, it's about getting the confidence of saying that, buy this piece of art, learn to live with it, you evolve with it, you will actually love it. And that will come with time, I guess.
Adding to what she's saying, or rather just kind of complimenting, is that a lot of people don't have access, or rather don't want access. Today, there is so much happening in the country. Like, how many people make an effort to go to an art fair? How many people make an effort to go to a museum show? How many of us make an effort to go to a biennale? The moment you go there and you position yourself there with the crowd around, which is a like-minded set of people, the moment you have conversations with them is when you have the eye-opening happening and your perspective changes dramatically. So I think that effort or that curiosity, if it doesn't come from within, it's very difficult for people to we can talk about them being intimidated or rather having lack, but it's just all about simply making an effort. The moment you make that effort, you are in a different world altogether, and that world is going to teach you.
So I have a little bit of a different take on this. I think effort also comes if there's enough access
Correct.
to things. So I've seen this with for example, our gallery over the last 2 years. You know, traditionally, Kulaba and Fort area have been the stronghold of art district. It's not like there's no culture in Bandra and upwards. Right? There is a cultural consciousness and all of that. And it was honestly just an experiment to begin with. But over the last 2 years, I've had people who have never been to an art gallery before come and say that we have attended every exhibit of yours, and they now know which artist they like. So I think it's a little bit of also stepping out of the strongholds, traditional strongholds of whether it's an area thing, whether it's older galleries, etc. But also just the sort of the tone of voice on how you're welcoming people. These are things I have heard. Everybody has different
So I think
perspectives on this.
while we are talking about Bombay, we come from Baroda and Ahmedabad. How many people walk into galleries here?
That's yeah.
You know, and it's
This-
not
yeah.
it's not that the art event is not open to all. It's open to all.
Correct.
People can make an effort. People can go and see the show, ask questions, educate themselves. But there is a serious lack of people having that willingness in cities like Ahmedabad and Baroda is what I feel.
That's very interesting as a change in landscape.
Yeah.
Have you also seen what have you seen changes in Gujarat and how it's approached here? And
So, for me, when I got married here, 17 years now, and when I went to homes here in Ahmedabad, I didn't see art. Versus 2 hours away, if you went to Baroda, you had so much. If you go to anyone's home, because maybe also because of the MS University there was so much knowledge. They were exposed to something. They already had that knowledge. You had artists like Hussein, everyone Tayyab, most of the big artists, big names actually came out from there as well. There had so many exhibitions around that. So that city in itself got educated with art much, much better than what Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad was always known for its architecture. So people here have newly started collecting art. Now that they've, families are getting nuclear, they're moving away from their parents, so whichever way, I think the younger generation, the millennials, are actually taking decisions where they want to invest in art. Art is no longer a piece of canvas which is just painted on. You've paid a couple of thousands for it or lakhs for it. It's not that. It's an investment. It appreciates. And a lot of people come and ask, oh, you bought something so expensive. I said, listen, your shares are not giving you back 100% return in a year.
Yeah.
But art is giving.
Yes.
So I think that, it's appreciating multifold, in my opinion, especially contemporary art. I mean, from last year's Delhi Art Fair to now, if you see the Bombay, I was shocked with the prices. I was like, where is this market even going? So it's shocking. It's increasing at a rapid speed. It also has to gain more momentum, I feel. Also because if you see rest of the globe, you see China, you see the market there. There are collectors who promoted that kind of, people are buying that kind of art where these artists are getting from, it's insane, the market. I think Indian market in that sense would be the least.
Absolutely.
But I feel it's changing. It definitely is. I think the wind wave is going in the other direction, in my opinion, very slow, but it definitely, and I feel we need more and more collectors investing in art, bringing, sort of giving them platforms, bringing about this change, supporting these artists, so we can also sort of and what you've spent on, you get some worth of it.
no, absolutely.
Referring to China, like the kind of art which came out of China in the 80s and 90s and what comes out of China right now is dramatically different. There was a gentleman called Uli Sig who was the ambassador of Switzerland to China at that point of time. And he created a massive collection of Chinese contemporary art. Every work in his collection documents a historic moment in the Chinese Revolution. Now, see, the thing is, all of a sudden, because he was from the West, he took the collection, showed it, and toured it across Germany and Switzerland. And all of a sudden, the valuation of the collection was $500 million. He donated all of it to M Plus Museum in Hong Kong. In a candid conversation with him this time in Hong Kong, what I realized was that what is very important, or what makes a collection worthy, is when it is every work in the collection is documenting a historical moment. And that is what you are going to leave behind to the next generation to kind of get inspiration from. So it's multiple things. See, a lot of people get attracted to art because, the prices are going doubling, tripling. But then that brings a lot of this whole investor mindset people also to look at art seriously. But it's a mixed bag, right? Not everyone is looking at it as an investment. When you look at contemporary, it's more affordable. Like you can buy a good work of art for as little as 25,000 rupees. You don't need 25 crores. It's all about making yourself, interested, going out there, and you'll end up acquiring good artwork, which you like, which resonates with your lifestyle, which talks about your personality when your friends walk into your house, which talks about your political opinions, your social opinions, and that's you, and that's your art in your home.
Absolutely, no. That's a great point. I think people, don't necessarily realize when they just start collecting about how, my belief, and do not kill me for this. I know there's a lot of design people here, but design has a utility aspect to it as well. Of course, they're artistic objects and so on, as you see in the whole fair. But when you look at art, you feel like it's just something on the wall. There's no utility to it. That's where people start. But over time, when you start living with art, it is about the values you're reflecting and all the things that you mentioned, Harsh. And very interestingly, what you mentioned, I really loved, which is, in terms of museums and the institutional side, buying art, acquiring art, it is things that are art that is, talking about a particular moment in time that was important contextually, that stays then in a museum. At some point, what the collectors are right now buying, some collectors, when they start looking at it as happy art and all of that, at what point do they go from there to collecting and supporting and giving patronage to artists who are doing socially contextual works that can then go into museum? There is a gap somehow, I see. I don't know what you guys think.
It's very funny.
You mentioned
the most famous contemporary artists are the ones who have been validated by museums. And people tend to go for the most famous names. And so technically it's a catch-22. You don't even realize you're buying a politically, socially motivated art, because that's not what your perspective is. You're just going for the name. Because every major magazine, every major art kind of conversation has those names coming up. And so that's how it is. It's sad. That's how it is. As long as people get access to the right kind of art.
Right. No, lovely perspectives on this. So I'm so glad that we could discuss all of these issues. And I think one of the things that I'd like to sort of want you guys to conclude on also is, given all these discussions around where the art market is in South Asia. For context, by the way, traditionally, the numbers of the art market around the world has been split almost 3 ways between 3 markets. There's US, UK and China that control 99% of the art market globally. 1% is the rest of the world. Right, which shows the potential that's available, and all these discussions around China and what it does. USA is, of course, this front runner in capitalism and consumerism, and also therefore understands how to buy art, and the market is very mature there. London does very well as well. One caveat here to mention is that traditionally also auction houses, which control a large part of this market, the main auction houses, Sotheby's, Christie's, have been only present in UK and US, in New York and London. But there are, for example, a lot of people from Middle East who go and buy there, and therefore these numbers get accounted for there. So that's one data caveat I'd give. But given the sort of GDP growth that we're seeing, all of that, there is more and more people becoming aspirational. They wanting to buy. What's the next step that I can go in terms of lifestyle and all of that? So there's a lot of interesting potential to come in India.
There's a budget.
Yeah.
There's a budget that people give.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what are the kind of starting budgets you've seen?
I mean, art is a conversation, right? And while the wife wants to, aspires to have a few good pieces, of what may she have seen at a gallery or at her friends or while traveling. It's a conversation, but now it is a budget that a family puts together. It could be 4 lakh, 5 lakh, it could be more. But now they start, have a thought process in place, because as we know, as houses get completed, that's when it starts draining. So just before itself, they start acquiring art, slowly, space wise. And art could be as inexpensive or art could be expensive, depending whatever they like to do. But they definitely put that budget up.
Which is a good thing, a
Yeah.
good change.
Absolutely.
I mean, earlier
Very
you wouldn't
good
have that
change.
No
budget
budgets.
at all.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be told, in fact, the other way, that oh, furniture mein sab ho gaya. Okay, I don't have no money.
That's
Right?
what
Which is
actually
like-
used to happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why.
That's a huge change.
That's why they said that, we need, because at the end of the day, it's, yes, you love a lovely sofa, that's where you will actually find the comfort, right? But yes, you do see at 5 feet, right? That's where you install the work. And that's what you need
And
to.
I also personally feel that art is one element which differentiates one house from the other. Beyond a certain point, when you go out to Italy or anywhere you go to shop, you can buy the best furniture, you can have the best of flooring, all of that will look similar someplace or the other. Art is the only defining moment in your home which is your own. You cannot, like Italian marble is Italian marble. You might have black, I might have brown, but it's still Italian marble, right? But I won't have the same art which is in your house.
100%. 100%. So no, really lovely, lovely conversations. I'm being told we're going above the limit, but I think this is a great point to conclude on. It's so great to have two gallerists, one art advisor and a collector here to get a really all-rounded perspective on the entire art market, and therefore we did this South Asian art discussion to begin with. Just concluding, there's obviously a lot more potential that each one of us are seeing in different ways. The market changing, even though we don't have public institutions of art. I feel like the consumer side is sort of propping it up right now. Art fairs, galleries, all of that is propping it up. That's where people are coming in, and galleries are almost playing this dual role. Art fairs are playing this dual role of educating in some ways, and providing some sort of art
I think
literacy.
public art is something which is the need of the hour.
Absolutely, absolutely. Somebody had told me that I was cribbing about public art across India, and somebody from Belgium told me that, listen, it's a problem everywhere. Okay,
Not really.
But yes, we do need more of that,
And we do need more galleries as well.
Of
Well,
course.
we started with that number 100, right?
Yeah.
It should be 10,000.
Exactly.
should be for the population.
To be honest,
in the
no. Otherwise, young artists will never get representation.
100%.
What can I, you, him, we can represent 30, 35, 40 artists.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
tired
What
with
about the
five.
others?
100%.
Right? And then you have the senior galleries who have been around for 35, 40 years, who are just showing the same set of.
They have their
Yeah,
roster.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
also full
And
up.
their roster is amazing.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep doing well, and we really appreciate that. But what about the young artists?
The new crop.
And
Yes.
the 2-tier, 3-tier cities need more galleries.
Yeah.
At least you
Absolutely.
can, even if you can represent 2 artists, it's more than enough.
Absolutely.
No, but it's also representations, like when I think Raw Collaborative also approached us, that they wanted to, they've always been into design and now sort of wing it towards visual arts. I think I was very happy because I wanted to do something in the art space, and it was very nice that, that there are people now thinking about visual arts and to have a gallery. And I think, thank you for curating the whole thing, where you brought in a lot of local Gujarat artists primarily, and bringing them about and people coming to see it. I mean, today they might associate, not associate, but they'll at least go back, think about it, and, see it somewhere else, and, have. So it's not about the sales, but it's actually just representing them, just showing their work, because they're from such nooks and corners of Gujarat. They
Absolutely.
don't have any access, and platforms like this kind of help showcase these works so beautifully and
Absolutely.
give them some knowledge, the public.
Absolutely, and that's where we hope there's more patrons like you as well, Meha, who makes things like this possible, right? Because patronage, when institutions are not there, patronage becomes a huge support to this side. But, sorry? Audience.
I was like, I still want to talk.
Yeah, sorry. Can we open up for questions? Anybody have any questions?
I just want to say that I don't agree with you that designers don't think about art. That's not true.
Oh, that's not
No, 1 second. Because art has a purpose also. And the reason why you have it in your home is that it becomes a part of you. And you live with it, you have memories of it, you're thinking about it, you feel great about it. So it becomes an atmosphere that you have created, a landscape that you have created inside your home. Why do we bring chairs inside the house? Particular type. That's also design, but it's also art.
Absolutely.
So so I think to draw this kind of line, one has to be very careful to say, okay, it doesn't have meaning. Of course, it has a lot of meaning to us. Psychologically, also, it has meaning. I have painting of maybe a religious painting in my house, but so what? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That is what I want.
Yes.
I may have watercolors, I may have textile art. Okay. So just beg to differ with
Yeah.
what you are saying. And
No, that was a misrepresentation by me.
No, it's okay.
That's not what I meant at
You're
all.
free to think how you want, but I expressed it. I'm a designer, so I'm telling you.
No, absolutely.
Also, I want to add one
Yes.
thing. What is the place to all art gallery owners of textile art or fiber art in your eyes?
Mainstream.
Sorry?
Mainstream. Totally mainstream.
Okay.
Equivalent to a painting.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay, because
And that is the change
I
that
am
is
one
happening.
of the fiber artists who don't know what to do with my art.
Thank you so much. I think that is exactly what I wanted to, add there. When we started this journey of Raw Collaborative about 8 years ago, this is exactly the conversation we used to have for furniture that you call, or home lifestyle products. Let's call it lifestyle products. People were not educated, so it was so safe for everyone to just go to China or Malaysia and this is my budget, and let's just kind of the architect will just tell them we'll get the whole lot from there. A container, yes, containers was the word. Ek container ya do container, and it was so heartbreaking. Where people, I was from the industry, and I said no, we need to break this. We need to educate people. So people really thought you're mad, to do something like this. Said it's not about, doing a show, or this is what we've turned out in 8 years, but it's about educating people. Exactly that. Today, every person coming here is talking about the material, the joints, the adhesives that has been used in a particular product. So they are interested in the story behind every product, and that is what for art as well. I think it will be so much more interesting for everyone to come and understand where this artist is from, what is the story behind every artist's work, and that connection is what they're going to take back home, not just the piece of work. So that is something which the art world now needs to push a little bit more. Gallerists, curators like ourselves, we need to step back, bring the artist and the buyers, in direct contact with them, because I think that is what really, really sells.
Actually, also wanted to say what Indra sir said in the previous conversation, that this distinction between art and design is not necessary.
Yeah.
They all have to be together. And everything, like I love to collect chairs.
Yeah.
And I love to do that. And every time, whenever I'm here, I'm going to go outside and see if I get one more chair for my collection. And I consider that chair as important as that painting on my wall.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. But at the same time, why is this distinction happening is because we have art schools run in a particular way,
And
design
design
schools.
schools, yeah.
So what happened with Sheth when Doshi had the artist residency, art in residency, he had that vision. He wanted the artist to be in an architecture college. Why? Because they can educate. Exactly, they can educate each other.
Yeah.
But that is disappearing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many architecture colleges have artists working in there? Right? Jairam Bhai worked for so long here. So that is something very important. Yes, ma'am. हाँ NIT में बुलाते थे पर नहीं ये तो प्रीमियर इंस्टीट्यूट्स है पर बाकी अपना देश तो बहुत बड़ा है
So Tanvi, I want to add there. There are a lot of artists, in fact, really nice upcoming artists who are not able to communicate. वो actually वो communicate करते हैं through their body of work. अगर आप उनसे बात करोगे वो I make the artist meet my clients. I said you must meet, you must. Because but वो नहीं समझा पाते हैं.
yeah
It's not that what it's you have to understand that their way of communication is that piece of art. Yeah.
Not every good artist necessarily has the gift of the gab. Right? They can't even kind of express.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Of course. Of course. Exactly.
I actually, you know, while I do understand how it is, but because, you know, I connect to all the galleries all over the country, and I am from Delhi. I just feel there's just so much that happens in Delhi.
Yeah.
There's so many galleries, that many artists, that much happening. It's actually it's confusing the buyer.
Yeah.
It's actually, you know, like my friends in Delhi, they're just like, listen, we can't wrap our head around it because we are so confused.
Yeah.
So there has to be a method to this madness that has to be in place actually.
Yeah.
And as what we are saying that there are that many galleries that should be open, that many new artists should get a voice, then there has to be a method to this madness as well because everybody's also getting very confused.
I think validation from people who matter is an answer to the method to the madness because there is too much. This access is also good for bringing more people in, increasing the kind of market size also. It plays a very important role. But then again, when you kind of filter out, that's when you realize what the real stuff is against what's not. And that's an effort everyone should make. But at least, yes, these are two contrasting things. One is kind of creating a problem for the other. But I think it's overall helping the market to grow.
yes
First of all, we have only 3 galleries in Ahmedabad.
So in
Sorry, I forget which one is
not
there.
talking of Ahmedabad only. So
yeah.
I'm talking of National Association.
I'm sure. I think
we,
Delhi already has
Become
one.
a member, no? National
already has one.
Association. It won't feel left
It's not an
out.
association.
But there's a group activity. There's the Delhi Contemporary Art Week, which we
there
call.
are two Delhi Contemporary Art Week, and there is a Delhi Art Week. But the point actually is that between every 10 days, every weekend there are 3 shows opening.
Yeah.
We barely finished with this. I had to go off for serendipity. Barely that finishes. There's already Bengal Biennale already happening. So there's
Too much.
Delhi has the problem of plenty. I think we're in Gujarat. I think we are still struggling with, just getting up those shows. So I think we're still behind you all. So I think we need more and more of it. And I think if you...
Absolutely. And actually, just a color on Bombay. Bombay, there's a very strong association called Mumbai Gallery Association where all galleries are a part of it and everyone doing art in any serious way. And it's an open, non-gate-kept, very association that we do. So Bombay has that. Hopefully, maybe Delhi someday. Maybe we do a national one someday.
In Baroda, we have an association. I'm the only member.
If we are Baroda and Ahmedabad, will be 5 members.
why not?
I think
course, right?
I'm being told we're going very over. So let me conclude here and thank you so much for being here. This has been a very interesting conversation, and the perspectives have been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've had 2 very interesting serious conversations this morning, and we've got a nice
we
full
serious?
house over here, almost full house, which is
You kind
amazing.
of changed the entire
Thank you.
set of questions.
We'll just do a panel picture
Thodu
before we.
was a little.
Thanks, everybody.
You have to, right?